You tell yourself you'll slow down next month after this project launches, after the kids are in school, after the car is paid off, after you hit the savings number, but next month never comes because you're American, and slowing down feels like surrender. And here's the paradox that will haunt the quiet moments. The more you work, the more behind you feel, not less. Americans work hundreds of hours more each year than people in Germany or the UK, and we have nothing to show for it except higher anxiety, burnout, and divorce. A major poll found that most American workers feel like they're always falling behind no matter how many hours they log work. 10 hours behind, 12 behind, 14, and sleep at your desk still behind. And that's not a time management problem, it's a cognitive trap. Call it the productivity plateau, the evil cousin of the hedonic treadmill. Your brain adapts to any output level within weeks. So the 60-hour week that made you feel like a god soon feels normal, and you feel like a failure for not working 70, so you raise the bar again and again until you're working 80 hours, sleeping 5, and still drowning. This is the American genius move. We turned productivity into identity, and identity is a bottomless pit. You aren't working to finish, you're working to be, because in America, what you do is who you are. A German engineer works to afford a hiking trip. A French accountant works to get to lunch. But an American marketing director works to prove she deserves to exist. And that's not hyperbole. It's deep sociological data showing we rank last among wealthy nations in work-to-live orientation, and first in love to work. We tell ourselves the hustle is a choice, but when your self-worth depends on output, choosing rest feels like choosing to be nobody. And now, the neuroscience that will ruin your next weekend. Your brain's default mode network, the part that activates during rest, daydreaming, and creative insight, is suppressed when you're task-focused, so the harder you grind, the less access you have to the very mental state that makes work worthwhile. You become less creative, less strategic, less human, and then you work even harder to compensate in a feedback loop straight into the ground. Research shows productivity per hour drops sharply after 50 hours and turns negative after 55, meaning someone working 70 hours produces less total output than someone working 40 because they spend half the time fixing exhaustion-fueled mistakes. But Americans don't believe the data. We believe the myth of the founder who slept 4 hours and changed the world, ignoring how many of those founders crashed, burned, or had a team of enablers. Here's the reversal that makes this worth sitting through again. The only Americans who escape the workaholic trap are the ones who intentionally underperform, not lazily, but intentionally. They decide good enough is better than perfect but dead. They leave at 5 on a Tuesday, even though the email queue isn't empty. They take the full vacation, even though the boss side-eyes and their careers don't collapse. They often advance faster because they show up rested, clear-headed, capable of actual insight instead of frantic output. Let me tell you about Patricia, a senior accountant in Dallas, the kind of person who answered emails during her kid's soccer game and worked through lunch so she could leave by 7. She was praised constantly but felt like a fraud, always 3 weeks behind. Her therapist gave her a prescription, 1 hour of deliberate nothing. Every day, no phone, no TV, no chores, just sit. She thought it was ridiculous, tried it anyway, and the first week she felt panicky, like stealing from her own future. By week 3, something shifted. Her brain started generating ideas in the silence. She solved a problem that had stuck for months while staring at a wall. She slept better. And she realized the awful truth. All those extra hours weren't making her productive. They were making her stupid. She cut back from 65 hours to 45. Her boss didn't fire her, didn't even notice because the quality of her work went up. The only person who noticed was Patricia, because she stopped hating her life. The American cognitive paradox sits right here. We work more to feel secure, but work makes us insecure. We chase productivity to prove our worth, but the chase destroys the very worth we're trying to prove. We built a culture that worships the grind, and now the grind is grinding us into dust. The only escape is to refuse the premise, to say I am not my output, to take a nap without guilt, to close the laptop at 6, and mean it. Right now, your brain might push back, insisting this is unrealistic because you have bills, a boss, a different situation. That's the architecture talking, the trap defending itself. So if something in you feels a quiet relief, if you feel an impulse to send this to the person in your life who answered an email during Thanksgiving dinner, that's not about me. That's your own recognition that exhaustion is not a badge of honor, but a warning light. And sharing that insight might be the first real act of resistance. You remember the question from the beginning, why Americans work more and feel more behind. The answer that first viewing hid is that we're not racing toward a finish line. You're on a treadmill someone else controls. And the only way to win is to step off. Now go do nothing for an hour. Not productive. Nothing. Just nothing. That's an order.